Welcome to the Millennial and a Boomer Walk into a Coffee Bar podcast.
The very best podcast to get your life advice in the form of a grande caramel macchiato in a venti cup, 1/3 whole milk, 1/3 almond milk, 1/3 soy milk, double the amount of vanilla syrup, caramel wall in the cup, no caramel drizzle on top, upside down, of course, tall ice cup, whipped cream, rounded lid, one shot extra espresso, decaf, cinnamon sprinkled on the top, and for the name, that's David, spelled Dafydd, please.
Or to get your business, finance, and life support black coffee advice, I'm Dan, I'm a Boomer.
And I'm Chase, the Millennial. Thanks for joining us today.
Boy, another opportunity to dazzle our listeners with brilliance of finances. The very last episode on finances. So,
Well, the last for now. I'm sure by episode 300, we'll be back to finance at some point. However, we are officially on episode 29 today.
wow. So 30, we will actually revert back to generational differences. We're going to talk Gen Z. We're going to actually have some guest speakers come on and everything else. But let's take home the finances thing. Like the last podcast, we talked about, quite honestly, retirement and preparation for retirement and how to estimate for retirement. And now, because now I'm going to say this probably impacts more the boomers than the younger generations. It's scams and frauds. We can be scammed a little bit, especially with the electronics world of things. So there's a couple things to watch out for. So this is a good one, right? If you've saved for retirement, now be aware of the scams and frauds that people are going to try to take your retirement.
And because most people think that these are for boomers, I've brought two additional that you don't even know about yet. They're not in the notes. Two for boomers and two for millennials that get millennials often, frequently. So we'll cover those at the end. But just know they're out there. They're ready.
Yeah, they are out there. But as we typically try to do, let's start off with a little bit of humor.
Oh, have I got a joke for you today? Did you know there are two great financial geniuses in the Bible?
Two.
One was Noah, who floated his stock while everyone else had to go into liquidation. I'm not saying they're good,
They're jokes.
but they're jokes.
That's not too bad.
I feel like you have one too. You got one on you?
I do. The other, when you talk about the two great financial geniuses in the Bible, the other one was Pharaoh's daughter, who went to the bank of the Nile and drew out a profit.
Okay, that one's pretty good.
That one's better.
That one's pretty good.
I like that one.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, let's jump into scams and frauds. What is this scam and fraud? And, help maybe with a definition or exactly what people look for when they want to scam and defraud you.
Well, if we're going with the theme of the last episode, I would love to say that Social Security is the best scheme or fraud or scam, but we're not going to do that. Not today. Okay, maybe a little bit today.
A little bit, yeah.
But there's something that's really important for people to know, and that's that there's this thing called personal identifiable information, PII.
Yep.
And that's any information that can identify you as an individual. So some pieces of information that identify you is the name,
Right.
social security number,
Yeah.
credit card number,
Yeah.
bank account number.
Yeah.
And anytime someone steals any of those PII pieces, they can use those for identity theft.
Yeah. So you boomers will remember when they said, hey, make sure if you have old bills or documents, shred them, because people are going to go through your garbage can and look for papers and take your identity, because they can get your name, they can get your birth date, they can get your social security number, they can get any of the information. But I'll tell you, it's a whole nother world out there today with all of this PII out there and available in the electronic world.
Yeah, I don't think people are digging through trash anymore
Oh, I
because
don't either.
if you want to be honest, all of this information has been leaked from so many different sources at this point. Your info is floating around the dark web. It just hasn't been utilized yet.
And we touch a little bit on this too, but everybody, your bank has your information. You do electronic banking, you do your credit card, you can go look up what your balance is and what your next payment is, your water bill with the city. Everything and anything is electronically available. And in some instances, those are compromised, not by you, but by your bank or by
One of
even
the
the
biggest,
credit companies.
yeah,
Right?
one of the biggest offenders in more recent memory, AT&T. Your phone bill has so much information on it, and all of that got leaked. Not just your name and your phone number, your address, all these different things, all of your call records.
Yeah.
They got leaked, and it's out there now for people to see. And AT&T just sends you this big long letter. Well, we got it because we used to have AT&T, and it's this big long letter with tons of legal jargon, and nobody knows what it means, and so they just toss it. But the truth is, they're telling you in legal mumbo jumbo, oopsie,
Yeah.
we just let all your personal info get out.
My bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is their bad, but it can impact millions and millions of people. So it's an invasion of privacy, and it can cause a lot of problems for the person whose identity is stolen, actually. So if they get your credit card, what are they going to do with it? They're going to go buy things. In fact, let me tell you, I actually got one of my, and it was my business credit card. So I got a statement, and it had $500 spent at McDonald's in Chicago, Illinois. I travel a lot. I'd never been to Chicago, Illinois. Boom. I get another $500 from another McDonald's in Chicago, Illinois. Boom. I get $3.85 for a gas station in between the two McDonald's. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So I cancel my credit card. I call the bank and I call my company. And I thought, I am going to call this McDonald's and find out who in the world bought $500 worth of McDonald's. So I called. I said, hey, can you do the manager of the store? And I got them on the phone. And I said, hey, my name's Dan Eskelson. And, my credit card was used there to buy $500. Do you know anything about that? I can't imagine someone living after eating 500 Big Macs. I just can't do it. And the lady says, oh, yeah, I helped that customer. They came in here dressed nicely, really good. And he says, I want to buy gift cards for my employees for Christmas. And he bought $500 worth of gift cards. And he was certain to say, I want the paper gift cards, not the electronic gift cards. And he bought $500 worth of gift cards at McDonald's. And then he went to the next before I could catch it. So I tell you, it's out there. And this was old school. This was a couple of years ago, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to be very careful, because the first thing they do, if they get a credit card number or your credit card or account number, spend until they get caught or found out, and then they move on to the next one.
Yeah. So not only will they take it straight from your credit card to buy things, but they'll also withdraw money from a checking account.
Yep.
And they'll just take your cash right out from under your nose, straight from the bank account. And I feel like this one has slowed down a little bit.
I think so.
But it definitely was the thing back in like the 90s, early 2000s. They'd go and somehow get your PIN number and withdraw money.
Yep. Yeah. And these type of things will damage your credit. They'll impact your relationship with your financial institution. And then the time you will spend on trying to remedy these things is unfortunate. It's unbelievable, and potentially even legal problems. If the person who stole your identity does something nefarious on your behalf and causes trouble with the law, not only just stealing your information, which is against the law, but if they were to do something that would be illegal, and then it could be up to you to have to fight that battle.
Well, even if you over time are proven innocent, right? Because it wasn't you who actually did it. You're still caught up in the legal web until someone can sort it all out. And that, let's be honest, the legal system isn't known for moving quickly. So that it causes just a lot of stress in your life. It can be very upsetting emotionally and mentally, and in some cases physically. Yep. So, just be aware that this is a huge problem that's out there.
So let's jump into a little bit more of how do these rascals get, and now we've lost all the listeners from the Little Rascals. They're
Oh,
all boomers, right?
we lost Buckwheat and what was the other one's name? The
Spanky and the gang.
Spanky and the gang.
Yeah. So how do identity thieves get your information? And let's talk a little bit about that. In fact, I remember, and I was thinking about this because I was at a hockey game the other day for one of my grandsons, and I remember the first time you played hockey for a season in your high school, you guys all went in there and you got changed and you went out and skated on the ice. You came back and someone had gone through your locker room and stolen all the money and stuff out of your wallets and pockets and stuff like that. So it happens. Anybody could steal your wallet. They could find your wallet. They have immediate access to your debit card, your credit cards, your driver's license, all types of these, even your social security number, social security card.
Yeah. Not necessarily a part of our discussion today, but probably don't carry your social security card around in
do
your
not.
wallet. Probably not the best idea. Yep.
So that example was quite a while ago, but let me go to one that I heard because you and I both spend a fair amount of time in airports and parking lots and things like that. There was, I think this was in Salt Lake City, there was a man and his wife. They drove their car to Salt Lake City Airport. They parked on and they went on their airplane. They went on their trip. Some of these rascals actually came in and broke into their car. And what they did was they stole the registration and the garage door opener. And they found where you live. They had your garage door in there. They went in and ransacked these people's house, and they got the car keys when they were there. Spare set of keys. Everybody has them laying around. They went back to the airport. They took their car and they went for a joyride and they trashed it. They trashed the inside of their house. They did all this damage. So now I think, and I was out in Salt Lake City a while back, the police were recommending take a picture of your registration and do not, whatever you do not have your removable garage door opener available for these people to take it. So I tell you, they think of 100 ways to get nasty into your finances and into the things that your identity could be stolen.
Yeah, that was a wild story, and it wasn't just one. These guys hit like 3 or 4 cars before they got caught.
They did.
Okay, so that's the first one: is they could steal your wallet or steal some kind of personally identifiable information.
Right.
Next is going through your mail.
Yeah, that's an old-fashioned one, but I'll tell you, it's still available. If you can ink out or you can tear up or you can shred, that's easy enough. Shredders are pretty cheap and inexpensive at your local.
Well, think about it though. I mean, I feel like you guys are different because you guys get a lot of mail. For us, the only thing that we get in the mail are bills. That's it. That's all we get, and it has all of our info on it.
It does, but also let me tell you this: they usually have credit card opportunities sent to you. Yeah. Hey, join our frequent flyer club and buy the credit card. And it usually has your name, your address. And then if someone could get a social security card, they could go through and take that and actually make application for a card in your name at your billing address, but delivered somewhere else. So,
All right. So that's the second. Third is data breaches. We already talked about this. When a company's computer systems are hacked and hackers are able to access the company's data. We won't go through that again.
Actually, though, one of these things that the companies do, they get hacked. Even some of the Experian and some of these that are supposed to be people that are credit monitors, they get hacked. They'll offer you 2 years of credit watch or credit things like that. But I'll tell you, there's more and more companies that get hacked with data breaches.
Yep. And then lastly here, phishing scams. And I'm not talking about F-I-S-H, fish.
Phonetics, right?
Phishing, P-H, phishing scam. Someone calls you or sends you a fraudulent email or text message, and they try to trick you into giving away your personal information. And these guys have gotten good.
They are. Boy, they can make an email look so legitimate with the company's logo, the company's everything. They can make it look exactly like it came. they can even make the return email address
Mm-hmm.
look like that.
Yeah.
And so you got to be very, very careful. And remember, banks always say, hey, we'll never ask you for your PIN number. We'll never ask you for your account number.
Yeah.
Things like that, we'll believe it. And the best thing, if you feel like you got compromised, go ahead and contact the business directly with contact information, either on the back of your card or that is a reliable source, and find out, hey, is this a phishing scam or is it legitimate?
Well, I'll tell you a recent example on this one. So for our business, we use QuickBooks, and I get an email from QuickBooks that said something like, you need to update this feature. Okay, I get emails from QuickBooks all the time. And
Click
so
this link here.
I clicked the link, and it brought me to a sign-in page and put in my password info, and it just pulled up a thing that said, thank you, this setting is now activated. And I thought, that's weird, because every time that QuickBooks does that, they have a pop-up. Are you sure you want to change this? And so it hit me really quick, like, that was weird. So I went back to the email, and I looked at where it's from, QuickBooks Online. But if you double click on that in your email, it shows the actual email address, and it was not an @quickbooks.com email address. And so I had to
jump through hoops to immediately.
I had to jump on, change my password right away, and then I had to go through this whole process with the nerds over at QuickBooks to make sure that they didn't switch my account numbers so that every time money gets deposited, it goes to their account or something.
Exactly.
And it was a big headache, and I should have known better.
Do not click on links of emails. Log on directly through your source of safe environments when you go to your financial institutions, because these rascals.
Yep.
Oh boy, they are. So
yeah.
So let's maybe jump into how do you protect.
Well, I think there's one that you
information.
forgot on the notes here. There's one that didn't get listed, and I think that this is not one of my two at the end, but this is one that I think
Free.
Millennials. Yeah, this is a freebie. Millennials and other younger generations fall victim to a lot, and it's public Wi-Fi snooping.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of a VPN, virtual private network, but I never log into anything that's not my home without using a VPN. Coffee shops, airports, hotels, all this stuff. Why? Because free Wi-Fi is a hotspot for scams. Thieves set up their fake Wi-Fi networks with names like free coffee shop Wi-Fi. And then once you're connected, they snoop on all your browsing, your personal data. They can snag some passwords and usernames and all kinds of different things because you're using their Wi-Fi. All of the info you're sending and receiving is going through them, basically.
Yeah.
And so you got to be really careful about that one.
That's a really a good one. So, and that's actually probably a good one for a tip to protect your personal information. VPNs, be very careful about logging into public networks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very careful.
All right. Sorry, I stopped you.
No. And I was going to jump in. Shred your documents with personal information before you throw them away. I've even got some of these ink rollers that you can go over the top that blots out your personal information.
Your wife must have got a bulk order on that, because I got one of those from her too.
I think we gave you one for Christmas.
Oh, that's what
not too long ago either, too. So,
well, my kids really like to create designs with it because it's got like this wavy thing, so you can't read the text
cool.
underneath.
It is, but it's old school too. I don't think I think now thieves are too lazy to go through a garbage can. They're just sit there in their darkness of their own.
Of their mom's basement.
Those are the millennials.
Oh.
I don't know that boomers are smart enough to go do electronic. I'm sure they are, but now we just lost a lot of our boomers. I'm sorry. Okay. Come back to us. And then here's another one that's really key. Use a strong password for your online accounts. Don't use the same password for everything. If they crack that password, you're in big trouble. And even with storing passwords and things like that, you don't really have to remember or write down passwords. Although I do. I have a notebook where I write down my passwords.
Where was this notebook held?
Yeah.
Is the bank info account there?
All the retirement accounts are there. So don't worry, it's the same password. So if you get one, you get them all. No, but really be mindful of your passwords. My company actually, that I work with, actually went now to, I think you have to have a 15-digit password, and it's long. And if you log out and walk away and you log back in, it's painful, but I tell you, it's worth it. So consider that as a real must-have.
Yep. Not only that, but check your credit reports regularly. Make sure there's no mistakes or signs of fraud. And a lot of times people are now recommending to actually freeze your credit.
Right.
But what exactly does that mean, to freeze your credit?
So Experian, the three credit sources, I don't even know who they are, Experian, whoever, we went through, and for free, they'll actually freeze your credit. It doesn't lock your credit. Do not lock your credit. Freeze your credit so that when a search comes through, they see that your account has been frozen and they won't release what your credit score is. And so what that does is that prevents people from securing a credit card or something else, because you have to unfreeze your credit. Now, the problem with it is if you want to go get a loan, or you want to go do something that you have to have some source of credit, you need to go in and unfreeze it.
Yeah.
And then they can go check it. But it's just another layer of security that when people go to look at it, they say, I'm sorry, this has been locked. You can't have the information. It would need to be unfrozen before you can actually make application for any of these type of loans or activities.
And the big three are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion.
And all three of them offer free of charge freezing your account.
Yep.
Something to look into.
All right. What about number 4 here?
Lock your devices, like your phone, your computer, with a password or fingerprint so that people can't get your information. You know, it used to be kind of funny at my work. People would leave their office and not unlock their phone or their computer desktop, and someone would come in and send an email to someone as though it were you. And it was all in good fun and good jest. Well, now security has come out and said, anytime you're not by your computer, lock your computer. And I would say the same thing. If you're doing that, make sure that you lock your cell phone, especially if you're in public. I got one that I didn't put on here that I just saw. This lady, she's sitting at an airport, and all of a sudden she gets a phone call. And the guy says, hey, man, I thought you were pretty cute. I wanted to see if you wanted to go get a cup of coffee. And she's like, what are you doing? Who are you? Turns out some guy was sitting somewhere around this young lady, looked at her luggage tag, and it had her phone number on the luggage tag. And that's how he was actually able to go contact her. So I'm even apprehensive. Don't have luggage tags available for view. There's oftentimes now in luggage, there's a little slot where you can put your
slot or a flap
or something like that. So be very careful about that. These people, they'll stop at nothing to go find out.
And sir, if you're looking at a woman's luggage to get a date, maybe just go talk to her. Just introduce yourself.
The old-fashioned way.
It will go much better long term.
Yeah.
All right, so lock your devices, and that's good. That's good not just from a financial standpoint, but I'm in education, and we tell the kids all the time, like, first of all, you don't need a phone at school. Focus on your schoolwork. But second, if you have a phone, don't leave it sitting around without the password on,
right?
Because that's where you see the majority of things like bullying, and they're taking photos or sending photos or doing something. Like, just lock your stuff.
There you go.
All right, number 5, be careful about what you share online or over the phone. If someone calls you saying they're from a bank or financial institution or your company or something, and you don't recognize the number, don't give them personal info. And this actually happened to my wife a couple years back. If you remember that, someone said they were calling from our bank, and she gave them some information. And as soon as she hung up, she called me. She's like, it was just kind of weird. And I said, tell me the number. And so we Googled the number that they called from, and it was not our bank.
Yeah.
And so you got to be really careful. The best thing to do in those situations, because sometimes banks do call, the best thing to do in that situation is say, hey, thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and call the main number back, and I'll get it handled.
All right.
Hang up with that person, call your bank, and ask, hey, this is what I was just told. Can you confirm? If it's real, they'll confirm it, and you called them. And so now you know this is a legitimate employee from that bank or credit union or whatever.
Let me even take that one step further about someone contacting you or you sharing information above and beyond. But on social media and posts and everything else, be careful what you share. Yeah. Do not share PII. And also, a lot of times, if you're doing some type of podcast or you're doing something, make sure you check the background. Like, I'm just looking in the background here, and I see potential things that people could look. Hey, the password is set up in the background, or your account number, or some type of information that they could get. be careful about what you share on social media.
Yeah, that's a great point. And if you remember when Facebook first really started taking off, all of those surveys that were popping around, do you remember these surveys that were popping around? What were the questions they were asking? What's your birthday? What's your hometown? What's your pet's last name? Where did you meet your spouse? I don't know if you've noticed, but all of those questions are the questions that you have to confirm your password at your bank.
Yeah, that's right. That's
and
right.
who set those up? Nobody knows who set it up, but they thought, oh, this is fun. I'm going to fill it out and send it to all my friends. And there's some goober in his mom's basement collecting all your personal info, and he's just going to go log in, change your password, take your money.
Yep. So
anyway, it's good stuff, man. This is all about frauds and scams. And as we close this one out, I've got 2 bonus points. Frauds and scams that are most common, 2 for boomers, 2 for millennials. All right. The first is just for millennials. Number 1, that side hustle that looks sketchy. It probably is. Pyramid schemes might look like an opportunity, but they're just a multi-level way to lose your money.
Yep.
All right. So that's number 1. Number 2, Venmo requests from new friends are not social networking. Your new Bumble BFF didn't need $100 just to get by this weekend. You probably don't even use Venmo, do you?
Don't even. No,
don't even know what it is?
My wife had it at one time, but I'm unaware of the... I know it's another scam.
It's a big
I don't
one.
give my accounts out or money out.
So Venmo isn't a scam, but the people use it as a scam. See, there's a difference.
Big time difference. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, I just got rid of a lot of our Venmo listeners. I'm sure it's safe, but use it wisely.
Yeah. You know, what's funny? I travel a lot, right? And I've got a barber in Oklahoma City because I basically lived there last year about this time. And she only accepted cash or Venmo. And I never had cash, so I had to Venmo her every time. Anyway, all right. What are my 2 for boomers? Number 1, Facebook has ads, not real estate deals. You did not win a house, a boat, or a Mediterranean villa from a pop-up ad. Just no. And number 2, your computer virus didn't call you first. Don't give Microsoft support remote access. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's not Bill Gates on the other line.
Well, let me, and we may end up cutting these. I'm just going to say that right now because there's 2 things that drive me crazy. I just bought a new truck, and that truck tracks everything I do. Now, there's a way you can go in and turn that sharing data off. My driving habits, my listening habits, my eating habits to some extent in my truck. So you got to be very careful about that. And the other one, this is going to be controversial. Whatever you do, and I'm going to say it, and we could cut it, but don't do those accounts where GoFundMe. First of all, they take a fair share and cut of that. Now, there's some good actual reasons to go do things like that and share it, but they reserve the right to give that money to people or not give that money to people. We got to come up with a different way to help than GoFundMe.
Go send go. Go send go is
that one?
It's a better one.
Anyway, we might cut that out.
No, we'll leave it.
Leave it.
You're a boomer. It's the ramblings of the boomer. It's fine.
There you go. So, well, now we've done it. Now we've kind of wrapped it up. A good study, a lot of information. I had one of my colleagues say, I got to have my daughter listen to your podcast on finances. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something from it. And I hope in an effort to bring boomers, millennials, Gen Z, Gen X together, I hope you guys learn from that. And just remember, just because things are different doesn't mean they're wrong. That's for sure. So.
Awesome. Well, the best way you can help us on this podcast is to like, share, give a quick feedback piece, but mostly send it to someone who could listen. Right?
That's right.
Who would like it. And that will help us more than you know.
And we're going to get back to the generational differences starting next podcast next week. Have a great afternoon. Enjoy it.
All right. See y'all soon.